VZ-58 battle rifle is most commonly confused with the AK-47 rifle. And if you're like me, if you're an owner or an admirer of the VZ-58 weapon systems, you ever told a guy, 5 or 6 times that, this rifle is a VZ-58, that it's not an AK-47, that it is completely different from an AK-47, and you explain to them all the ways that it's different, and at the end of all that, they're like, oh, so it's an AK-47 with an AR safety. It's not. It couldn't be any more different from, aside from the caliber, it couldn't be any more different from an AK-47 if it was an AR-15. That's how different it is. All right. Now, most of the videos that I've seen on these rifles, on the VZ-58 rifles, they compare these rifles to the AK-47 exclusively because at least in the United States, where most people in this country have never even heard of this rifle. Most people in this country, they've heard of the AK-47, they've heard of the AR-15, they've heard of the FAL, M1A, M14, and some others, but I've met people that have been into firearms for 20, 30 years, and they have absolutely no clue about this rifle. But as opposed to most of the videos that I've seen on these rifles online, I intend to not only compare this rifle to the AK-47, I also intend on comparing it to the AR-15. The AR-15 and the AK-47, and both of their variants, are the most popular rifles in this country. So I have a list over here from Checkpoint, the manufacturer of this rifle, that outlines some of the supposed advantages of the VZ-58 rifle over AK-47 style rifles and AR-15 rifles. I'm going to read down that list, and we're going to find out whether or not they're true. This is direct from the manufacturer. The advantages of the VZ-58 over AK-47 style rifles. The milled receiver VZ-58 is 1 pound lighter than a stamped AK receiver. Now, I don't know exactly. I haven't done the measurements, but let's see here if we can notice the difference. Take the magazine out. Now, this is a stamped receiver. It's machined out of one piece of metal, VZ-58 receiver. Let's compare it weight-wise to this SGL-21 that I used in a previous video. Yeah, it's definitely lighter. Okay, continuing on. The bolt stays open after the last round fired. This is true. Anybody who's ever shot a VZ-58 has seen that. And it's great because when you're shooting an AK, everybody's shot that AK before, and a lot of the time you don't know when you're out of ammo, and you hear that click. You always know when you're empty with a VZ-58 in your hand, and it makes for faster magazine changes, which I love. There's no downside with knowing when you're empty and being able to change your magazine faster. With the magazine in the rifle, you can reload it with stripper clips. Now, I have seen that done, and you can do it. You can load it with stripper clips like it was an SKS. I have not mastered that. I will admit that to you, but I have seen it done, and it is an advantage. There is a more natural point of aim, and there's faster handling and faster sight acquisition with a VZ-58. And from what I've seen shooting these rifles, I believe that to be correct. I agree. Has a more ergonomic safety. That's not even debatable. And let me see if I can get this on camera. All right, you can manipulate the safety with your finger. Fire safe, very, very easily on the VZ-58 rifle. On the AK pattern rifle. Everybody shot these. Everybody and their mother has shot one of these. You got this really awkward safety. If you're not used to it. You know, I'm used to it. I've been shooting the AK longer than any of these rifles. Any of these so-called assault rifles that I'm about to show you. Alright. There is no dust cover because the inner workings of the receiver are protected by the VZ58's charging system. Let's see, it locks back here. Alright, now that this is open, you can see the next thing on the list is that the ejection port is huge, so there's no chance of a casing getting caught. Yeah, there's no way that you're going to get a 7.62 by 39 shell stuck in there. And like I said previously, when the rifle's not firing, I mean, you can drop this in the mud, dirt, whatever. Nothing is getting in here. It's impenetrable. And even when this is locked back, let me lock this back again. Even when this is locked back and this is open, and I don't know if you can see down inside this rifle, but you can only, say like some kind of dirt or debris or mud gets its way into here, you could very easily, with how open and wide it is, you could very easily just stick your hand down in here and clear it, just like that. And most of the inner workings, I mean, you can see the extractor here and stuff like that, and you know, pretty much all the inner workings of the rifle are covered. They're protected by the way this rifle is designed. So now we're going to talk about the advantages of the VZ58 rifle over AR-15 rifles as Checkpoint, the manufacturer of this rifle, sees them. The short stroke gas piston system is more reliable than the AR-15 direct impingement gas system. I believe that to be true. Again, just as with the AK, no need for a dust cover. The receiver is enclosed. With an AR-15, that is not the case. The VZ58 is easier to field strip than the AR-15 rifle. This is true as well from my experiences. Not that the AR-15 is super complicated to field strip, but the VZ58 is definitely easier. "28 seconds. Also, the VZ58 is lighter and more compact than an AR-15 M16 style rifle. Let's put that to the test. Here we have a full-size 20-inch Colt AR-15A2 made in 1985. Compare this weight-wise to the VZ58. VZ58 is definitely lighter and more compact. Definitely way more compact. Now, let's compare that to an M4. This Colt 6920 M4 carbine. Weight-wise, compared to the VZ58, I think the VZ58 is slightly heavier, and they're about the same size. You know, M4 carbine and VZ58 are about the same size. VZ58 is a little heavier. It is also from my. This isn't from Checkpoint. What I'm about to say. This is from my experiences with the VZ58 rifle. I believe the VZ58 rifle has reliability and durability that far surpass the AR pattern rifle. I believe it to be on par with the AK rifle itself. Not saying that the AR rifle is unreliable. There are just extra steps that need to be taken, as you well know, to keep the rifle running. It is not a gun you can neglect. It's not a mud gun. You know, it's not a gun you can just pick it up and go, and limited lubrication and limited maintenance, and it will still run. You have to follow a maintenance schedule. At some point, you're most likely going to have to replace parts, things of that nature. I do not believe that is nearly as much of a concern with the VZ58 rifle. The VZ58 below is a striker-fired short-stroke gas piston 7.62 by 39mm Czech battle rifle designed in the mid-1950s in Cold War era Czechoslovakia. The rifle's development began in 1956 under Jiří Čermák. The Soviet Union insisted that all Warsaw Pact nations use standardized ammunition and forced the Czechs to abandon their 7.62 by 45mm cartridge used in the earlier VZ-52 rifle and adopt the Soviet 7.62 by 39mm cartridge. The VZ-58 rifle entered service in 1958, and in under 30 years' time, just under 1 million VZ-58 rifles have been produced and had been fielded by the armies of Czechoslovakia, Cuba, and several other African and Asian countries. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Czechoslovakia split into two separate countries, the Czech Republic and Slovakia. Both of these nations still use the VZ-58 rifle to this day. The Czechs, however, are currently replacing the VZ-58 as their primary rifle with the CZ-805 Bren rifle. The Czechs are known for their extremely well-made and extremely high-quality firearms. The Czechs make some of the finest firearms in the world and some of my personal favorites. The Kalashnikov pattern rifle above is merely here to illustrate the vast internal differences. Alright, we have both rifles here, field stripped down for a basic cleaning. Show you the differences. Here is your receiver hood for the VZ-58. It has the recoil spring and also the recoil spring attached to the receiver hood, as well as the spring for the striker channel. You can see that is very different than the receiver hood for the AK pattern rifle that has nothing attached to it. Here we have the recoil spring for the AK pattern rifle. As you can see, quite a bit different than the recoil spring for the VZ-58 pattern rifle. Alright, now let's look at the bolt. This is the stripped, these two components here, this is the stripped VZ-58 bolt. Take that over here, put that next to the AK bolt. It's night and day difference. Alright, what else do we have here? Okay, the bolt carrier of the charging handle and the bolt carrier of the VZ-58. You can take a look at this and see how different it is from the bolt carrier of the AK pattern rifle. It's completely different. You will also see that with the AK pattern rifle, the piston is attached to the charging handle and the bolt carrier group, that making it a long stroke gas piston. The charging handle and the bolt carrier of the VZ-58, the piston is not attached, as you can clearly see. Here is the piston. It is a short stroke gas piston design. You can see that the gas tubes are quite different. This one, it's just enclosed on the top on the VZ58. On the AK pattern rifle, it is enclosed all the way around. The rifles have 0 interchangeable parts, including magazines. The only thing that they have in common is that they are Cold War era designs that came out of 2 Warsaw Pact nations, and they're both chambered in the 7.62 by 39 millimeter caliber. I almost forgot, this is the striker channel for the VZ58 rifle. It is a striker fired weapon. There is no striker channel in this rifle. You can look in the VZ58 here, and you will see that there is no hammer because this is a striker fired rifle. And you can see when you look in this internally, it is completely different. There's no striker channel in this rifle because, and you can see, it is completely different on the inside. There is no striker channel on the inside of this rifle because, as you can see, there is a hammer. How do I feel the VZ58 battle rifle stacks up against other popular 7.62 by 39 millimeter caliber battle rifles? In a word, excellent. Matching this up against the AK-47, the VZ58 is lighter, it's more ergonomic, it's more comfortable to shoot. In my hands, I've even felt it to have less recoil. It is more accurate, and it is considerably more accurate. I've seen in other videos that downplay, but it is considerably more accurate than the AK pattern rifle. How does the VZ58 rifle stack up against the SKS rifle? In a word, excellent. It is more accurate, it is more ergonomic, it is more versatile, it has a larger capacity. How does the VZ58 rifle stack up against the Ruger Mini 30 rifle? In a word, excellent. It has better ergonomics, it is more versatile and more accurate. Also, something I forgot to mention comparing this to the AK rifle. I've heard a lot of people complain about how the magazine release, see if I can get this on camera, about how the magazine release is on the left side, and some people prefer the AK mag release because it is down here, and some people say it's easier to get to. I find that mag release on the AK to be stiffer and slower to actuate and get the magazine out. I find this one to be very light and very easy to get out and to make magazine changes. I believe that the mag changes on these rifles are faster and more efficient than with the AK pattern rifle. How does this rifle stack up against an AR pattern rifle in the accuracy department? Pretty damn good. I've taken VZ58 rifles out and taken them out next to AR-15s, M4 carbines, and what I have seen is that when you are shooting these rifles next to each other, at least up to about 100 yards, which is the maximum for the range that I go to, you will see that it really hangs with an AR-15. I'm not saying that it matches it 100%. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that it is respectable. It is ballpark, like what accuracy-wise what an AR-15 does. It's like right in there. Like you shoot one of these and compare it against an AR-15, and you shoot an AK against an AR-15, and it's not even close. This one is like right in there with an AR-15 accuracy-wise, and that's in a 7.62 by 39 caliber. One of these in 5.56, I've never even shot one, but I'm pretty sure, based on what I've seen with it being so close to the AR in accuracy, out to 100 yards, I'm pretty sure that the 5.56 version of this would match it blow for blow.